Hi everyone, and welcome to the Team Venom Comic Show. I'm your host Rory Bailey, and I'm joined by Nina Daisy Aberlein, and you're the creator of Sunrise Blossom, which I believe has just hit 79% on your crowdfunding campaign, which is great news. So, yeah, what can you tell us about that project?
Well, Sunrise Blossom, I've been working on as a webcomic for 2.5, almost 3 years. Online, I have just finished the first season, and I am doing the crowdfunding campaign to print the first volume, which is 220 pages of lesbian harpies being dramatic.
Nice. Well, what inspired you to create that?
Well, I started working on it as a short assignment when I was in comic school. And one of the assignments that they gave us then was to make a 4, 5, 6-page long comic on whatever topic of our choice, as long as we used a non-semi-realistic style. So we had to use, as much as we could, a cartoony style. So close to either the American cartoony style, like Calvin and Hobbes, or even like American, like Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network style, like, I don't know, SpongeBob or Gravity Falls, things like that, or something close to like French comics like 1010 or Asterix and Obelix, anything that wasn't semi-realistic. And I had really been into monster girls for a long time. So like, harpies, lamias, centaurs, things like that. And so I thought, hey, why not make a short story about a lady driving at night, accidentally hitting a bird who was flying across the street while she was driving. Then the lady taking the wounded bird back home and trying to nurse it as much as she could, and then waking up with a naked harpy in bed the next morning. And after the assignment, I had already started feeling so attached to the characters that as soon as I had finished the ongoing comic that I had back then, I started working on this. And it's been going on for almost 3 years. And I have to say, I'm really proud of how it's coming along.
Oh, wow. What can you tell us about your process when for the general creating of comics and such? How do you go about doing that?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's very similar to that of most comic creators. And it's the same process that I've been using for a long time and taught in comic school, which is starting with a concept, then fleshing out the characters, then fleshing out the main plot, and then start working on the script chapter by chapter. And after doing the script, I do the storyboards or thumbnails, depending on whichever word you prefer. After all the storyboards are done, pencils, inks, colors, and then I post it online.
Okay. You mentioned the comic school. Whereabouts was that, and how easy or difficult was it to go to it?
I went to a 3-year comic course in our comic school in my city, which is Brescia in Italy. And it really helped me a lot. I really learned a lot from that comic course. Though I have to say, after 3 years of comic school and having spent all the money that I spent on that school, I think that there are, for new or rookie comic creators who are trying to get into the business, I think there are better ways if you want to get into the business. Like mentorship programs or things like that are both cheaper and even more helpful in some situations. But comic school did help me a lot. Also in networking, because I am now familiar with most comic artists who live in my area who are roughly my age. So that was good.
Okay. You mentioned earlier about your crowdfunding campaign being at 79% and such, and that's for your collection. What can you tell us about the campaign specifically?
So the campaign just launched last week, which was the 9th of May. And it's a lovely little campaign to print the first 120 pages of the comic, so the first volume. And so the goal that I am going for is 800 euros, so it's not super high, mainly because it's my first big-ish crowdfunding, and I definitely don't want to go overboard or expect something too big. But so far, it's going really well. For those who are listening and who might just maybe feel interested, the basic copy of one volume is 25 euros. And for the Americans, normally shipping to the States from Europe is fairly expensive. However, I was able to strike a deal with a friend who lives in the US, and all shipping to the United States will be 13 euros instead of 20 something euros, which in US dollars is about $15 or something like that.
Oh, wow. Have you got any other projects in the pipeline, or is Sunrise Blossom your main focus?
Well, I have worked on other projects before. My very first quote-unquote big comic was called Our Name Was Maya, and it is a 94-page comic that focused on two girls, or rather two souls, who were born in the same body, but they were complete opposites. And so when the body died, the two souls went towards opposite directions. So one went upstairs where it's nice and sunny, and one went downstairs where it's really, really hot. And the point of the comic was that since they were quite literally twin souls, like soulmates, the entire comic was them doing what they could to reunite. And in the end, they did, and they lived happily ever after, I guess. I've also worked on smaller comics here and there, like a few 10-page mini projects, done to take a breather from big stuff every now and then. But they're really small things. Like the first one that comes to mind is Through the Wood, which was a 10-page black and white comic about a little girl who has to cross the woods to reach a house at the end of the woods. And during her trip, she meets a wolf, a bird, what's the name of those people who cut trees for a living again? A lumberjack.
Lumberjack, yeah.
Yes, and a lumberjack. And I've also worked with the Italian Italian Hamster Association, and I made a short illustrated guide on how to properly take care of the little rodents.
Oh, wow. Well, lastly then, where can people find out more information about Sunrise Blossom?
Yes, so on Indiegogo, if you look up Sunrise Blossom, it will be immediately there. It's also currently among the trending comics, hooray. And the campaign will continue for a month, so it should finish on roughly the 9th of June. But since it was initially shared as a webcomic, you can also find it free to read on Webtoons. So if you go on the Line Webtoons website and look Sunrise Blossom, it's right there.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. And I'll make sure I put the crowdfunding link in the description for you as well.
Thank you.
So anyone watching this can check out your projects and such, and anyone listening on iTunes and such will also be able to see the descriptions there. So, but yes, thank you very much for joining me. It's been great.
Thank you. Do you mind if I, as one
sure.
final thing, share the pitch of the comic, so at least you know a little bit better what it's about?
Yeah.
Okay, so drum rolls. Harpies, girls' love, falcons, drama, Sunrise Blossom is a coming-of-age story about Ivy, a young falcon harpy abandoned by her birth mother and raised by a family of owls. While traveling with her sister to learn about human culture, Ivy has an argument with her and is separated from her, only to be picked up by a human woman, Violet, who helps her discover herself and bloom into womanhood, both emotionally and physically. But it is only after a dramatic turn of events that Ivy discovers her feelings for her human companion.
That sounds great. I'll implore anyone listening or watching along to check out the webtoons and also your crowdfunding campaign. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.